Ladies and gentlemen, senior NBA insider for the Athletic Stadium Network and FanDuel TV, Shams Charania.
Yeah,
Shams?
Pat, how's your hip? I saw the news that you broke.
Yeah.
Those were good sources right there. I really appreciate your sourcing on that. I was kind of peeved you didn't call me to break that news, but I did see you broke it on your own.
I should have. That is, next time I'll do that. Next time I will certainly hit up Sean and say, hey, I got some info if you need it.
Need you break this.
Just completely tore my hip flexor. So I was on Toradol. Shout out to the iCryo team down there in I believe Raleigh, North Carolina. They were giving our team IVs, and I was getting Toradol shots. I was FaceTiming with a doctor on the beach to okay me to get Toradol. It was a wonderful setup. Shout out to the entire crew down there at iCryo. So I was getting Toradol shots, and the Toradol is completely worn off now. Boy, this thing sucks. It really is in a bad spot, Sean. So let's not talk about that. Let's talk about you being in a bad spot. You were getting dunked on all over the internet. All over the internet. Even on this particular program, we said, Shams just told us yesterday that J.J. Redick is potentially the favorite to become the Lakers, just like he told us on May 24th. This has been the same song and dance. And then Dan Hurley's name came out of nowhere. How did we get to that position, and where do you think we sit right now, Shams, in it all?
Yeah, the Lakers have been going through, let's look at the entire process. They've met formally with two coaching candidates. Before this whole situation, we'll get to that. J.J. Redick met with the Lakers in person, face-to-face, with Rob Pelinka to be specific, in Chicago at the draft combine in mid-May. And then after that, James Borrego met with Rob Pelinka in L.A. a week later. And then about a week and a half, 2 weeks after that, James Borrego comes into the Lakers facility, meets one-on-one with Rob Pelinka again, meets with Jeannie Buss, meets with other members of ownership. And so he has a more formal in-person meeting with everyone. And really around the league, around different stakeholders with the Lakers, it had been apparent that J.J. Redick was separating himself as one of the front runners. But obviously he is part of the NBA Finals coverage right now. And the feeling was that at some point after the finals, these sides would reconvene and actually do something to bring him out to LA and do a more formal meeting. And so last week, really around Wednesday of last week, the Lakers turned their attention to Dan Hurley. And he was not mentioned from the start of this search as far as going after, this is someone that's coming off two national championships, back-to-back championships, trying to go for the John Wooden three-peat. Obviously, John Wooden did more than just three-peat. Dan Hurley is building something special at UConn, and he was in the midst of contract extension negotiations after Memorial Day. They've been going back and forth, and the Lakers, for some reason, somehow felt like there was an opening with Dan Hurley. And around the league, what is now being termed to me is like really a Hail Mary offer to Dan Hurley. They come in $6 million or 6 years, $70 million. So he was around $5-6 million at UConn. They're bumping that up 2 times, around $12 million per year. Mm-hmm. But Dan Hurley clearly did not want to really leave UConn, and he chose to stay at the end of the day. And he's taking $20 million less to stay at UConn, continue to build what he's building, and he's already going to go down as one of the best college coaches of all time. Obviously, what he's doing there right now, he can continue on as UConn's coach for the next decade or so. He's that good. There's going to be NBA opportunities in the future for him as well. And when you think about it, what better way to tell recruits than to say, I turned down the Lakers job for $70 million. So Dan Hurley, obviously a major, major winner through all this, and deservingly so. This is someone that I think you guys had me on around the Final Four, around the tournament, and we talked about Dan Hurley and how special he is as a coach. So, and I think, listen, at the end of the day, there's questions around the league as to whether that was a genuine interest for Dan Hurley. Was this a genuine part of the process, or was this simply a leverage move for Dan Hurley? But clearly he gets his money, he gets his bag.
Okay, so he's turning down about $20 million over the next 6 years with this deal with UConn. We all assume UConn's going to give him more money, and they're going to figure that whole thing out. I think I heard this morning that the governor of Connecticut came out and said that they're going to pay him as much as they could possibly pay him to keep him there. And to the recruits, you're 100% right. There's nothing in this world of people being non-committal to everything. players, coaches, we can do this. Being able to say, you saw what happened with LA. I think it's special here. We can stick here. And then the machine just keeps going. Yeah. Congrats to you, UConn folks.
Unreal.
You guys are seemingly going to be able to talk shit or whatever. Okay, go ahead.
His deal, Pat, it's going to be 6 years, over $50 million for Dan Hurley to go back to UConn. That is what they're discussing. That's what they've been working to finalize. There was really two offers on the table for him. It was that 6 years, 70 with the Lakers, or 6 years, over $50 million to go back. And he is taking less annually per year. He's taking less, obviously, in the entire grand scheme of the deal. But listen, it's lifestyle. He's always been an East Coast guy. He's someone that really believes deeply in what they've built at UConn, what they're continuing to build at UConn. This is a team that, again, will have a chance to win a championship this season. So for Dan Hurley, it was a win to be involved. He spent one day with the Lakers. This is someone who really emerged last week as part of the process. And they finally met with him, made him this Hail Mary offer, and he ends up staying at UConn. And where do the Lakers go from here? They are going right back to their targets that they've always had from the beginning.
Okay, Shams, hold on, Shams, hold on 1 second. Okay, so everybody's saying that Dan Hurley's going to wait for like the Knicks job to open up. That's like was the immediate conversation. You're saying you don't think that's the case right there with your facial expression.
Well, Tom Thibodeau, I don't know about the immediate future.
Yeah, but like 5-10 years or whatever. They're saying like he will wait on that while building up UConn. Who knows what happens next year?
Very possible. Yeah. I mean, very possible over the next 10 years does Dan Hurley make a move to the NBA for sure.
Okay, so we'll keep that, put it on the ticker.
Yep.
Very possible over the next decade that Dan Hurley potentially makes the move. So you said it was a Hail Mary offer, but then I'm hearing a lot of people on the internet saying this is like egg on the face for the Lakers because they make a cheap offer to Dan Hurley. I know in comparison to what he's getting from UConn, but they could have made an offer that was like too good to ever turn down and got him as their head coach, and then this entire song and dance doesn't continue to go. Now you got a guy turning down LeBron James, the Los Angeles Lakers, and the NBA very publicly, and people are wondering how and why. Was it because of the money? Do you think if they offer something bigger, Dan Hurley says yes? And now I'm hearing JJ Redick is like, wait a second. So now, how's this? Is that real? Do you think there's a chance JJ Redick is feeling a certain type of way now that he is clearly at least the second option for the Los Angeles Lakers, even though they've had to wait it out because he's calling games? And you just said they're going back to the main targets. That is JJ Redick, is it not?
JJ Redick, for sure, has been among them. James Borrego also.
I heard he's going to the Cavs. I heard he's going to the Cavs.
He's interviewing for the Cavs. He's going to be one of the finalists for the Cavs. I think their process is playing out this week with in-person interviews. I think next week there should be more clarity on where their search goes. So, listen, if the Lakers want to go hire James Borrego, they've had a month to hire James Borrego. They've had a week, this week after losing out on Dan Hurley, I guess. They've had this time to go get James Borrego.
What are you? I guess, Sean. What are you
saying, Sean?
I think when you look at everything, Pat, you look at the offer that the Lakers made, it would have made him the sixth highest paid coach in the league. When you think about the highest paid coaches, Steve Kerr, Greg Popovich, Eric Spoelstra, Ty Lue, Monty Williams, he's right there in that class. He hasn't coached an NBA game, and he hasn't won a championship. And he's already thrust in that spotlight of being one of the top paid coaches. So the one thing I heard consistently around Dan Hurley, around the situation over the weekend, and really over the last few weeks, as I've thought about him, is it's never been about the money. He's wired differently. Someone told me yesterday he beats differently. He beats his own drum. He's just different. And you see him as a coach, how passionate he is. And there were for sure questions on how he would translate at the next level. We saw there have been coaches. Brad Stevens, I think, came in smoothly. Billy Donovan figured it out. But there have been other coaches making that jump that it just did not the leap wasn't made as cleanly. And John Beilein a few years ago with the Cavaliers, that didn't go well. So I think there definitely were questions, but listen, it's a risk, I guess, that you're willing to take. But for Dan Hurley, it was never about the money. If the Lakers offered $10 million more, $15 million more, $70 million for 6 years for Dan Hurley would have made him the sixth highest paid coach. That is a significant offer to me, to a lot of people around the league.
Got it. We just see NBA contracts, and we see like some dude we'd never heard of who's fourth guy off the bench getting $200 million.
Yeah.
So whenever we hear this conversation, we get a little bit confused. Let's get back to J.J. Redick now. So now J.J. knows 6 years, $70 million is what they were willing to pay for a head coach at the Lakers organization. Does this change negotiation? Is J.J. pissed that he's now second fiddle to Dan Hurley and everybody on earth knows that he wasn't their first option? How do you think this all works out with J.J. and the Lakers, if it is still J.J. and the Lakers?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think anyone really knows where the Lakers go from here in totality, because you see how this process has not been a straight line. But I would say only he can answer that question, though. How do you feel about really any coach that's going to get this job now? It's this cloud that even though it was an attempt at the last second, it was a Hail Mary throw. It really, to me, only the candidates themselves can ask that. But listen, this is the Lakers' job. This is still a big-time job, clearly with LeBron James, with Anthony Davis. Any coach would walk to this situation if they offer the job to either of those two targets, J.J. Redick, James Borrego. I don't think there would be a lack of interest, but really how peeved, how upset, only they can answer that.
Yeah, and it's a head coaching job, man. The back-to-back national championship.
The head coaching job in the NBA.
Yeah, the back-to-back national championship head coach is going to get an opportunity if he wants it. You know,
the way it works.
That is how it works. JJ knows the game.
How many head coaches Lakers paying right now? 2?
Vogel, for sure, right?
Ham,
Still paying him.
Darvin
Ham, they're paying. They just tried to pay Dan. I assume they'll pay for something. His travel, and they put him up in a hotel.
Are they going to have a coach? Pat, you got to put your name in. You might have to put your name in.
Great debut.
If me and Tony Meola are coaching together, I will certainly sign up for it. But unless Tony's in, I'm not in. You know, that's kind of how it all goes. Let's pivot away from the Lakers, because obviously that's a massive conversation. We can't wait to see who wants to coach LeBron James and the Lakers.
Hell yeah.
How about people just being like, nah, don't want to do that. It's the Lakers.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's the Lake Show.
Still wants to win, too.
Yeah, he does. I saw him tweet that. He shrugged his shoulders. This guy don't know me. He wants to still do his thing. Is he going to opt out here coming up in June anyway? What do the Lakers look like? It is a shit show for the Lake Show, currently seemingly optically from the outside in. But you hire your coach that you've wanted maybe all along in JJ. You get LeBron back. You start making some pieces. All of a sudden, we're hunky-dory going in to another year with a loaded West.